Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, how did a boy from the Badlands go on to become a wildly successful entrepreneur and investor? His incredible journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, when you think about the Badlands, you think about North Dakota. I mean, it's a tough climate. In the wintertime, it can get down to 50 degrees below zero, and it raises tough people. Among them, the great Teddy Roosevelt, and he attributes all of his success to what he learned in the Badlands. Somebody who else knows that very well is my next guest, Wade Myers. He's a wildly successful entrepreneur and investor. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, you bet, Jeff.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, let's talk about your upbringing, because it was a very unique upbringing.
Yeah, like you said, it's the land of extremes. Record low 75 below, with wind chill 100 below zero. And in the summer, I think the record temperature is second only to Death Valley, California.
Really?
At 118 degrees. So that's not exactly the place that you would prefer to grow up without electricity, without indoor plumbing, without telephone or television or anything. So we learned to survive in those harsh elements. But it was a great way to grow up.
And how did that shape you? I mean, as you kind of look back on the lessons you learned in your childhood, how did it shape you today?
Yeah, so it was a Mennonite lifestyle. My mother was raised a Mennonite, and so we didn't have any money. It was a subsistence lifestyle where we ate what we grew, or the animals that we raised, and we would do stuff like you typically see in the plainclothes community. We would sell sweet corn, potatoes, chicken, etc., to eggs to the people in town. And so a couple little villages around us, we would deliver produce and deliver to people's homes. And that, there was when my mother passed away, after my father had passed away, we were cleaning out their things, and my mother had meticulously kept just the basic tax information every year for the entire time they were married. And during my boyhood, oftentimes our monthly income was only $100 or $200.
Wow.
In the 70s, 60s and 70s, right? And it was just really sobering to look back and go, they were so creative. My mother was very entrepreneurial. Learned a lot of lessons from her. She was amazingly creative. But she would just go, you want to, okay, one story.
Sure.
So we went to a little country school with multiple grades per room, right? And that was fine. In the 6th grade, I went to the county school, huge county school, Jeff, with 33 classmates. And I was made fun of because of my homespun clothes. My mother tanned leather hides and even made shoes.
Wow.
And she would buy a bolted denim and sew blue jeans, But we was kind of like, we looked a little rough, I suppose. And so I came home one day from the 6th grade and told my mother, within the first week, I want a pair of store-bought jeans. Oh, you do you? Well, you can just make your own money to buy this. So my clothes are no longer good enough. She had a leather sewing machine, a treadle one, and a regular sewing machine treadle, because we had no electricity, right? And so I started working after school in construction for 50 cents an hour. And it was painful to save $5 for my first pair of store-bought blue jeans.
That is a great story, and that hard work ethic, I think, has probably fueled you throughout your career. I'm gonna fast forward to your service to our country in the military. So we've got a picture. We're going to put this up on the screen. Tell us what we're looking at.
So this was I commanded a special weapons team. This was a special weapons sort of practice missions. What that meant is we had atomic demolitions. We also had liquid explosives and slurry explosives, very, very powerful explosives, way more flexible than plastic explosives. And so this was an atomic demolitions mission where we are training Fort Carson, Colorado, the 4th Infantry Division, how to deploy my teams to deploy atomic demolitions in a battlefield environment.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I heard a story that at one point your parachute didn't open.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. It was actually, unfortunately, it's a low altitude jump. It's only 800 feet. So I didn't have a lot of reaction time, And so it was out of a C-141, which has these, huge Pratt & Whitney jet engines. And you just, when you're jumping from a jet, you just take a step out and the jet blast just blows you away from the plane. If it's a prop like a C-130, you have to jump out aggressively to kind of get away from the fuselage. So in this case, I was the first one out of the plane, and for whatever reason it happens, the jet blast just caused me to tumble. So I'm just tumbling through the air, right? And then the parachute in those cases can form a streamer where it just becomes like a cigar roll. And the first thing you do is when you feel the bones separating, kind of blast of your chute opening, it's, you're jumping out of a jet, you're going at a fast, you're punching holes through the sky at a fast rate of speed. And it's a real shock when the chute opens. Well, I didn't get that shock. As the static line jumps, so usually it's about in 4 seconds you feel a shock, no shock. And then you're supposed to immediately check your canopy. You look up and make sure there's no holes in your canopy, right? So I couldn't even look up. It's like I was on a swing set where I'm all wound up. And there's only 2 ways out of that. You either pull your reserve chute, right? And that's what the jump master on the ground was yelling at me through a megaphone. Pull your reserve, pull your reserve. But, there was, we were always taught that when you pull your reserve, you pull it, it's tightly packed. It kind of pops out, catch it, throw it up alongside so it doesn't get caught up in your main chute. Because if it gets caught up in your main chute, you got nothing, right? Wow. But you're supposed to take time to cut away your main chute and then pull your reserve. Well, at 800 feet, I'm hurtling towards the ground. There's no time to cut away safely. The other way is to grab your risers and bicycle out of it, like on your swing set again. And slowly it starts to open. So the chute kind of slowly starts to open. Right. Also, unfortunately, it's an equipment job. So I had an 80-pound rucksack below my reserve between my legs. And I had my M16 strapped to my right leg. You're supposed to untie the ankle strap. You're supposed to release your rucksack on a 30-foot, web strap so that you don't pile down on top of your equipment, right? And so in this case, I just came down so fast. I had all my equipment tied onto me, and it was starting to open enough to slow me down, so I didn't go splat. But I resulted with a whole bunch of bone chips in my right shoulder. And I was laying on the ground. My breath is completely knocked out. I'm kind of groaning and I'm bleeding. And the jump master comes over here and he goes, "Airborne, I told you to pull your reserve." It's like, thanks for the instruction. How about a medevac? Thankfully, I survived.
Wade, you're a vivid storyteller, and I know you're a very popular speaker. I want to talk more about your company and your investments now, if we can. So fast forward, you leave the military, and thank you for your service. Mm-hmm. How did you get involved in investments?
Well, so I was recalled to active duty 7 years after getting out. Wow! And fought in the Gulf War. So that was kind of a fun experience. Yeah, it was a nice break from work. You know. And so when I came back, I kind of had my desert experience of several months in the Saharan desert. And because the war lasted only a short while. And then I was over there as an Arab liaison officer for several months, not much of a mission, so I'm kind of gone. With my desert experience, I go, I no longer want to be a little cog in a big Fortune 500 company, because I worked for the 5th largest company in the world. It was Mobil at the time. Wow. And I thought, I really want to start a company and run it, or acquire a company and run it, something where I can but I didn't feel like I had the skills. So I went to Harvard Business School to get an MBA from Harvard. Another 2-year break. It's like, wow, I had a really nice break from work. And then I landed here at Boston Consulting Group in Dallas and had some wonderful assignments. And BCG is incredible. It's like one of the best consulting firms in the world, especially on pure strategy. And I fell in love with the idea of, with sufficient capital, business process redesign, where you recreate a better process, and then you tech enable that you could literally change the world. And I was involved with helping transform a couple different industries. while at BCG with big Fortune 500 clients. I was super excited to do that as an entrepreneur.
Wow.
So I had a venture firm back me in Minnesota. So I moved to Minnesota to where they were. And they said, we'll back whatever idea you come up with. And so they paid me a base salary, and I was like an entrepreneur in residence. And the guy, the venture partner that he said, I'll invest all the money you need. I'll be the chairman of the board, and I'll teach you how to be an entrepreneur.
Wow.
It was an incredible relationship. He was absolutely phenomenal. Loved the man. And he literally, very patiently, over 7 years, we launched 7 companies. And he taught me how to be an entrepreneur. It's incredible.
Oh, what an incredible mentor.
Yeah, really amazing.
I'm going to pull up the portfolio page from one of your websites, and as we scroll down this, I just I'm so impressed with kind of the diversity of the investments that your company has been involved in. And the thing that really struck me at the very bottom is films. So how'd you get involved in films?
So I had been an angel investor in some small film projects, several of them. And I spoke at a conference in Birmingham one day, and along with John Irwin of the Irwin Brothers, and no one really knew who he was at the time. And afterward, he heard me speak, about raising capital, being an entrepreneur. He comes up and he goes, "Hey, I've got a whole slate of films I want to do. Could you help me finance them? Because I've only done one, and it was a bear trying to raise the capital and, convince investors." So I said, "Yeah, you should probably do a film fund, and finance a whole slate." He said, "Can you do that for me?" And so that got me involved with Irwin Brothers. And they were, like I said, they were unknown at the time. And then they did Mom's Night Out, which is a mom comedy, did pretty well. And then we did Woodlawn. And Woodlawn, I gathered together all the financing and kind of chaired the project. And that was a great movie, A+ Cinema Score rating. And then right after that the next one was I Can Only Imagine, which was a box office smash.
Yes.
Extremely well. And that really then put the Irwins on the map. That was also an A+ Cinema Score. Now, only 1 or 2 movies per year get an A+ Cinema Score. And so their 2 movies in a row were both A+ Cinema Scores. The year before Woodlawn, it was American Sniper, as an example, right? Yeah. And so there's only 5 Hollywood producers. Steven Spielberg and John Zemeckis are 2 of them. There's only 5 that have ever gotten 2 A+ Cinema Scores, and the Irwin Brothers are 1 of the 5.
Amazing.
Yeah, these guys are amazingly talented. And so Imagine was a fun one, so I invested in the equity and invested in the marketing.
And that was filmed in Texas, right?
Yeah, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very cool. Well, I'm a big fan of that film and obviously the song. Let's go ahead and roll that trailer.
It's an amazing song.
Just kind of happened. Took about 10 minutes, I guess.
Bart, you didn't write this song in 10 minutes. It took a lifetime. How'd you do this?
I've never told anybody my story. When I was 11 years old, life was tough.
Where's Mama?
She's gone. She don't want me no more. And she don't want you neither.
And I've always loved music. And I found some songs that I held on to. They gave me hope.
Mercy me, that can't be his real voice.
Because I needed it. Dad, I can do this.
No, you can't. And you're going to blink your eyes and you're going to realize that life has gotten you nowhere because you chased some stupid dream.
I'm leaving, Shan.
I want you to know that I pray for you all the time. And I hope that you find whatever it is that you're looking for out there.
What are you running from?
My dad.
Then write about it. Let that pain become your inspiration.
I have some stuff I need to sort out. And I deal with it the only way I know how. And that's to write a song.
You hungry? Set the table.
What is this?
I want to make things right with you and me.
My dad was a monster, and I saw God transform him.
You have a gift.
real good. I didn't think that God could do that. And so I wrote this song for my dad.
Wow, I got chills. Okay, what is it like when you make a movie and then you're watching it for the first time with others?
Well, what's so funny is you see so much footage along the way that, it's sort of like, okay. But I went to, I did some pre-screenings all over the country. And we had one up in Plano. And I went to that with one of my daughters. And it was one of those deals. It was still kind of a rough cut, it didn't have all the full color done and didn't have a couple things locked yet. And immediately when the closing credits, literally everyone jumped to their feet and it was like a standing applause. Wow. I'm going, oh my goodness. I immediately came out and Josh is the chief operating officer at the time of the Irwin Brothers studio. And I said, Josh, I got to invest more. I was like, how much, I want all the P&A I can get, all the marketing I can get. It's just amazing. But it was wow. Well, when I heard that they had optioned this, the movie about the song and about Bart, the lead singer of the group, I'm like, I knew it was going to be a hit instantly because the song is so popular, right? And sure enough, completely unpaid on social media, they had more views within the first week of releasing the trailer than the latest Star Wars movie. Wow. We had 10 million views with the trailer in the first week.
No kidding.
It was released by a DJ in Oklahoma City, and I think that's where she was at. And 3.5 million trailer views that first day. It was just like, okay, this is going to be a runaway success. But also, it's just such a great story, such an amazing story, all true. And Bart, so I did a really cool premiere event. Bart and the whole band came in, the Irwin Brothers, and I got to take my that same daughter that had gone to the premiere with me. I took her on the bus, the band's bus. We were running.
Wow.
And Bart literally wrote that song in less than 10 minutes.
Is that right?
He said it was like just this kind of Holy Spirit inspiration where he just literally just wrote it. It was done. Never changed a word. It was like in only a few minutes, it just came to him.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And then and it was all true. The story about, Amy had bought the song and Amy Grant was thinking this was going to revive her career, right? Now, what wasn't true is it wasn't like he was sitting in the audience and she called him up. That was a little bit of a dramatization, but she did record it. They did stamp all the DVDs. They were ready, and they literally were going out by FedEx.
Wow.
And then she she was kind of just conflicted, like, this is his song and his story. Like, Bart, you gotta, she gave it back. And I don't know of any major musician or music act that have ever given back a song after they bought it and after they stamped all the DVDs, and she knew it meant a lot to revive her career, but she gave it back to him, and then he got to sing it. So there wasn't that drama moment of come up from the audience, but it was basically everything in the movie was true except for just a couple little drama points.
So powerful.
Yeah.
So in the closing few minutes that we have, I want to talk a little bit about your speaking career and this man as a giver. We're going to show some pictures. This is a startup grind Frisco event that you were at. You're very free with coaching and giving advice to young entrepreneurs. Why is that a passion for you?
Well, I made a lot of mistakes, but I had this wonderful mentor, Tony. And it's sort of like I see that as my role now, right? And so I love entrepreneurs. I love, hearing their ideas and then just really helping them, because most first-time entrepreneurs like I was, you don't know what you don't know, right? You're in that kind of quadrant of, unconscious incompetence, as they call it, and because you just don't know what you don't know. And so it's just like, please, save yourself some cycles, So I want to help entrepreneurs be more successful. And just giving that download, and there's entrepreneurs are so hungry for content. And there's all these questions like, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? How would I come up? How do I know what my startup is worth? How much equity should I give away? There's a million questions. And so I love helping out.
Well, I think there's a best-selling book in you, and perhaps even a movie. So you got to figure out who do you get to play yourself, or do you get who plays you? I'm kind of feeling a Matthew McConaughey vibe on you. Okay, so we're out of time, so we're going to end with his website, which is WadeTMyers.com. The great Wade Myers. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time. All right.